How's it going? My name is Mike Hussar. I'm a realtor with RE/MAX Advantage in Kalamazoo here. And I know you get a lot of videos about realtors wanting to talk to you about like, oh, what do you do to get pre-qualified and what do you do before you go to your first showing and stuff like that. But for Michigan, we have a special little nuance when you buy your house, and that is Proposition A. Proposition A was created in 1994 as a way to try to improve the way the property taxes were collected in Michigan and also improve the way that schools were funded. And in a nutshell, the way that Proposition A can happen is that in any given year, when you sit in your house here, like when I sit in my house, the state can either raise my property taxes by 5% or the rate of inflation when it comes to what houses are valued at. And it's the smaller of the two. But if I were to sell this house and go buy a new one, the person that bought this house, no matter what I was getting taxed at, the person that bought this house in the next year that rolls around, they could start paying a tax that's relative to the price that they bought this house for. And the reason that that's kind of a concern is because after doing a little bit of research, the prices have just astronomically increased in the last 7 years. I've been doing this for 7 years. I started in February of 2015, and I did a little bit of research in terms of looking at the month of April, going from 2015 up until now, looking at the average price of a home in Kalamazoo County and the median in Kalamazoo County. Didn't matter if it was a mansion or something that needed all the work necessary. If it was sold on the MLS, we counted it. And man, oh man, in the 7 years that I've been doing this, in Kalamazoo County, in the month of April in any given year, the average home price has increased by 91% nearly, and the median has increased by 81%. And your property taxes are relative to what your house is valued at. The way that the state values your house and the way that they figure out your tax is that, first of all, you have a millage rate, and that's relative to the municipality that you live in and also the school system that you're in. Here, I personally personally live in Kalamazoo Township, and I have Kalamazoo Public Schools. So my millage rate is at something like 48, 49 with some decimal points in there. But a millage is basically milla, as in like just a thousandth of something. And basically that millage rate means for every $1,000 that my house is worth, I'm going to pay the municipality that many dollars per year. So, it's basically $45, $46 times however many sets of 1,000 my house is worth. I bought this house right here for $108 back in 2018. So let's just say, for all intents and purposes, that I bought it for $110. If we cut this in half, that would technically be my taxable value. So my taxable value would be $55,000. So the way that they did it is, once I bought this in 2018, the people that owned this before me, they had lived here 9 years prior. They weren't paying as much in sale or property tax that I was. But once I bought the house in December of 2018, the township came around in 2019, valued the house, and then they were able to take the old tax rate, bring it all the way up to what my purchase rate was. So all of a sudden I was paying, even though my mortgage lender had me paying a certain amount of tax because that's what they could go off of with history, all of a sudden the entire year of 2019 I was drawing a negative in my tax escrow because I wasn't funding it enough, because they had just increased the tax amount the minute I bought it, and then I was basically not paying enough the entire year. That happens to anybody when they buy a house, and the best thing I recommend to my clients is that just understand that it's going to happen, understand there's no way to avoid it, and just understand that if you just keep saving up that difference every month, then you'll have the amount of money to start putting on it. But basically next year, even if you save up that deficiency, you're still going to have that new amount going forward, and they can still increase your taxes. But let's get back to when you first buy a house here. Now, 2015, houses were almost half the average. All right, so let's say you buy a house now for what the standard is going for. And averages right now in Kalamazoo County, I think we're looking at $270,000 for an average, and I think it's like $235 for a median. And I'm serious, it was $150 and $130 back when I first started. So when you buy a house now, instead of buying it for on average $150, where your taxable value is 75. Now you're going to have a house that you're buying for 270 and your taxable value is 130. So let's say you live here in Kalamazoo Township, or even just Parchment, Kalamazoo, Portage. We're all in the high 40s now. Portage, yeah, you guys didn't think that was going to happen, did you? Man, oh man, you're paying just like the city's paying. Anyway, and the water's more expensive out there. So anyway, now let's just say that we're, looking at 50 mils, because we moved into the future here, because it's going to increase unless you vote the mills down. So 50 mils times, cut 270 in half, 135. 5,000 plus another 1,500 plus another 250. That's that's 6,750 that you're going to be paying on property taxes. And what does that cut down to a month? I mean, 72 is 600 a month. So yeah, you're paying like 550 a month in taxes all of a sudden for a house that 7 years ago was worth maybe about half as much. And when you look at how values have jumped over the years, I don't think that we're quite really valued where we're valued right now. I don't think we're nothing. I don't think it's all fake, but I think we're a blend of some real and some fake for sure, especially seeing availability numbers over the years and things like that. So the reason I want to talk about Proposition A is because your mortgage lender isn't going to be able to project what you're about to do. They're only going to be able to go off of what's there. They can't assume, because who knows what the municipality is going to do. I mean, the municipality has the right, but they still have to show up and do the job right and not screw it up to actually have things implemented. So they can't just assume that that's what you're going to do. It's something where now if values go down, you're going to have to be on your municipality to get your tax lowered. But in the meantime, you're going to be spending a lot. You're going to be spending a lot on taxes. I've got people that own, want to sell, want to buy something else, and then we talk to them about Proposition A, and they're like, oh man, I don't want to pay taxes like that. Because their house, when they bought their house a few years ago, it wasn't at this price point where they can sell at and then buy up. But then they're realizing, oh, these taxes are now here, and then they're thinking like, well, if my house went up like this, then maybe I'm buying a house that isn't worth as much as it's supposed to be worth, things like that. And it's making people get cold feet. It's leveling the market out, but it's going to be a staticky summer. But at the same time, Michigan, man, maybe we need to talk about Proposition A being amended. Maybe we need to start talking to our government employees, because they are our employees. We pay them. I think we should talk to them about how much extra tax money is now going into the coffers. Over the last few years, from 2019 until now, unit numbers haven't fluctuated, but the values have gotten humongous. So I think the government's getting a whole lot more tax money than they used to get. None of us know how that's getting spent, but maybe this is putting us at a disadvantage when it comes to corporations wanting to be here or people choosing to live here, because I think we're going to be one of the most heavily taxed states once again. And that was the whole point of Proposition A, is to not make us one of the most heavily taxed states. We're already in the upper echelon if you go look up stuff, but this is just going to crank us up. People from New York or New Jersey or California or Illinois are going to look at us and be like, what are you people paying for? So that's ultimately what's going to happen, in my opinion, but I do think we need to revisit it, because we're all going to be spending a lot more, especially if we bought a house in this whole last 2 years, or especially this year right now, when prices are really going through the roof and there is zero availability, so everyone is just fighting as hard as they can for whatever is left. So keep that in mind. Prepare for that tax increase once you buy. If you got to buy, you got to buy. Hope you buy with me. But just be ready for it. Understand it's going to be a double whammy in your second year unless you prepare for it. But also too, maybe we do need to have revision on how the money is collected or how much is collected. All right, once again, I'm Mike Hussar. I'm with RE/MAX Advantage in Portage here in the Kalamazoo area, and I'm just talking to you on my porch here out in Westwood. And I appreciate you listening to me about Proposition A. Let's change some laws, man. All right, see you guys later.